Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Luke, and with me, as ever, is my lovely co-host, Chex.
Oh, what a lovely intro.
We actually nailed it this time.
We did nail it.
How many takes was that?
Oh, I got to be upwards of 20.
Yeah, that's...
Getting back in the swing of things. It's a new season.
Got the nerves, the jitters coming back.
Well,
yeah.
It means we're looking forward to it. That's the thing. We're anxious to get back onto watching some X-Files. It's been a while since we've actually watched an episode.
Yeah, it has been a while.
4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, we've just been recapping our time of just watching the last few. And I feel like those episodes went down quite well. But I'm just so glad to be actually back into watching the series now.
I didn't know how much I was looking forward to it until I actually watched the episode. And I was like, oh, this is good. It's good to be back.
Do you know what the moment for me was? As soon as the theme song came on, I was like, yes!
Yeah,
I was like, yes, I'm back.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that everybody else had that same feeling when they started. Well, I'm hoping people are doing the same as us and watching along with us, and they're keeping.
But I mean, whatever way people want to do it, because I've noticed that like the viewing, I keep saying viewing, but the listening figures are keep going up as even when we was on the sort of mini break, which is great because people are catching up. And hopefully. The more and more we go on, the more people will catch up and just watch along with us. That
was sort of the point of the break. Of the thing that we sort of said is to try and give people a chance to sort of get back into it.
Yeah. I liked having that little review. I think it gives us things to look for as we go through this season, do you know what I mean? And look out for things and things to touch back on after the season's finished.
Especially some of the predictions and stuff, because I feel like we may have... we'll talk about that one.
I wasn't sure. I did think like, have we already hit the nail on the head? But I'm not sure. We'll talk about it.
We'll get into that. But firstly, regular listeners will know I always ask a question at this time of the podcast.
Oh,
Chex, how's your week been?
My week has been. You know what? It's not been a great week. I was looking forward to getting back into this new season. Let's start off with a bang. Let's get riled up for it. And then I got a cold. I've been ill all week. Yeah. Oh my days! It was touch and go whether we could actually record today because you probably hear it as the episode wears on that my voice is pretty much shot. So my voice keeps breaking every now and then. But I'm on the mend. I'm getting better. Apart from that, I've literally been feeling sorry for myself, just trying to get over this cold. So I've not done anything.
Have you been at work or?
Yeah, I've been at work. Just about though, just sort of cowering in a corner, just keeping myself to myself. It's been all right. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's not been too bad. I've been busy, really. Yeah.
Well, you're cheating on me with another podcast co-host.
Well, yeah, as you may have seen on our Twitter, I've started a sort of side podcast, I suppose. It really won't stand on anybody's toes because I'm going to say that you probably don't want to host a Warhammer podcast with me.
Yeah, probably not. No.
So, if anyone who's listening is interested, it's called Brothers Grimdark, and you can check it out. Just search for it. I'm not going to go through the whole advertising spiel on here. But,
but you're enjoying it?
Yeah. I mean, we've only done one episode so far, but it's good, and I'm learning some new techniques in that are sort of helping or will help with the editing of this podcast and being a better host as well. I think I'm hoping.
Fantastic.
So
we'll
see.
There's one question on everyone's lips. Yeah. This is still your main podcast.
Oh yeah, obviously.
This is your bread and butter right here. So the quality. Leave all your sort of mess ups for that podcast.
No, that's what I'm doing.
Don't bring them over to the side.
I'm throwing all the experimental stuff into that one, and if people don't like it, I'm like, well, definitely won't do that in this one.
Only the premium cuts for this podcast.
Didn't get the schnickel for Fritz. I'm just kidding. It's high quality podcast. I wouldn't make anything less. As I realise, I've just sold it down the river.
So if you're not a fan of quality...
yeah, check it out. Yeah.
No, in all seriousness, I listened to your intro episode. I've not got round to listening to episode 1 yet, but I did really enjoy it. Not Like, it's not my... I've never been...
Yeah, I mean...
Never been into Warhammer myself, but I enjoyed it for, like, what it was, and I enjoyed the sort of chemistry between you and Dean.
It's one of those things, and you're either going to have a slight interest in it, and it's going to, like, bring you in, or you're just not going to be interested at all and completely understand if you're not. Yeah. It's a very niche thing. But it is beginner-friendly, so if you are like, I've heard about it, maybe I'll give it a go then. Check it out, and we'll see, but... That's been my week, really, is sort of editing that.
Well, should we get on with X-Files then? Because I'm raring to go.
Let's just crack on with it, I think. That's probably the best thing to do. We've got a segue for it now. We come back, we need some segue to get back into it.
Professionalism.
What's the name of this? Little Green Men. So...
Yeah. Oh, he's got one, I think.
No. That's a hard one to...
Little Green Men is difficult. Yeah. Doesn't have to be about Little Green Men. I'm
feeling a little green, so maybe should get on with this podcast.
We get on to the episode.
So this episode of the X-Files is season 2, episode 1. I think you said season 1 then.
Old habits die hard.
Already done that. It is entitled Little Green Men. Directed by David Nutter, written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong, and the original air date was September 16th, 1994. Now, the best part of the show. Oh. I have some production notes.
Yeah. Some things don't change. For better or worse.
Why would you change such a stellar segment? You know what I mean?
Okay, go on, hit me.
Right, so in the original rough draft, Mulder was meant to be sent to Moscow and not
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, yeah. I just keep calling it Arabica,
Yeah.
I'm going to get that name wrong so many times.
Just go for Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, yeah. Parts of this script were taken from an unused script that Morgan had written about a man going to a telescope in Chile. I don't know if it didn't actually say if this was a script for the X-Files or if it was just some other script that he'd come up with. But apparently that was called Little Green Men as well. So,
okay, interesting.
Yeah. One of the main themes of the episode is the idea that we all have to fight our own little green men and carry on, according to the writers of the show. Who wrote this specifically to allow Mulder to doubt himself and doubt his beliefs of, the conspiracy going on. I put this down in the production notes, but I get the feeling you'll have picked up on this in the actual episode itself. Senator Matheson.
Yes.
His first name?
Ooh.
Richard Matheson.
Is it Richard?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. One of my favourite author.
Exactly. He was named after Richard Matheson. As you know, I Am Legend... Yeah. And he also wrote a lot of Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Which I imagine this must have taken a lot of inspiration from. You know what I mean? That sci-fi sort of trying to scare the audience every week. And
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think the Twilight Zone inspired so many programs going forward. It was so revolutionary at the time.
Yeah, the actual type of program it was, being a sci-fi show, like a prime time sci-fi show as well. Also, on that note, they did try and get Richard Matheson, the actual Richard Matheson, to do the original opening dialogue at the beginning of this episode.
Okay.
That fell through, and the director wanted to get Darren McGavin, who was... Do you remember the program that X-Files was supposed to be based on, that Kolchak the Night Stalker? They wanted to get that guy to do it, but they couldn't get him. For some reason, they couldn't cast him. So in the end, it ended up as Mulder reading out the scroll, I suppose, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And also, we'll go over this in the episode, but this is the first time we see Samantha's abduction.
Yeah, well, that was interesting.
But there is some notes that it doesn't exactly match up with the descriptions we get in Conduit and Pilot,
which I've also made a note of.
Apparently, Chris Carter said that this is due to the unreliability of his hypnosis.
Yeah.
Which I can kind of like. Yeah, it's a good way to write. If they did make a mistake, it's a good way to write that away.
Well, there's two things to this. One, it's a fact that everyone's memories of events, it didn't happen the way you remembered it. Even like the most insignificant events, you paint it in a completely different way to the way it actually happened. And regardless of if it's little details that you change, or even in some case, like there's some like witness cases and like crimes, it can be skewed so much by things people say and like the mindset you're in at the time. You tend to paint yourself in the best picture, so especially if you're involved, you'll change it according to you.
Yeah, you hear about that, even with like your, silly as it sounds, your political and your religious beliefs, all these kind of things can affect how you see something
happening.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's a huge get out for the director, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so we all remember things differently. Yeah, of course we do, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll let him off. He's wrote the X-Files, and we're doing a podcast about the X-Files.
Yeah, we're stealing the living off him.
Yeah. So we'll let you off, Chris. We'll let you off if you are listening.
We know you are.
I don't know why I've made an enemy of the day. I hope we get an interview with him one day.
No, I don't. Shut off, Chris. You're not allowed to download this podcast every bloody week.
If I notice that we drop one listener now, I'm going to be devastated.
Every week, I'm just going to say. But when we introduce the podcast, we're like, welcome everybody. Not Chris.
You've made your bed. He's not done anything. I mean, this was like, what, 94? We hold grudges, apparently, yeah. Anyway, carrying on. The flight manifest that Scully was reading, the other names in there were actually names of X-Files fans. Who, it didn't say how it collected those. It just said they were X-Files fans. I don't know if they wrote in and it was a competition, or I don't know, they were just selected from something. I don't know how it worked, but yeah, they were all fans of the show. And also the scenes in Arecibo, I got it right this time. I don't know why I'm so amazed were actually filmed in Vancouver. And according to the director, if you look closely, you'll be able to see pine trees in the shots.
Okay.
This one I just copied verbatim from Wikipedia because I thought I'm not going to do it justice if I butcher it, so I'll just read it as it was. Gillian Anderson revealed on The Late Show with Conan O'Brien that when she and Duchovny were filming the final scene, Escaping the Blueberries, the actors portraying the soldiers had to pretend to shoot their guns, and so they made their own sound effects, which apparently caused the cast and crew to just laugh hysterically. Which would be I haven't watched it back, but I kind of want to now just to see.
Yeah, to be fair, I'd imagine it's difficult to pretend to shoot a gun without the sound.
Yeah, I mean, you'd
have to make the sound effect.
Have you ever pretended to shoot someone with a finger gun? You always have to go.
When I was a child, yes.
Oh, okay.
Was this last week for you?
No.
Pew pew.
I'm doing a Warhammer podcast. What do you think we're doing? Anyway, that's not true. Also, and this is where, I'm going to leave this bit, actually, because it'll ruin parts for later that we can discuss about. So I'll leave that part and we'll come back to it. So anyway, on with the episode.
Let's do this.
So we open with just a shot of space.
Mm-hmm.
And we start to hear Mulder speak over these scenes. Very Star Trek-esque, I thought this opening was.
Yeah, I had the same notes.
We see shots of space and satellite dishes coming into view. And Mulder says that he wanted to believe. And he goes on to explain how in August the 20th and September the 5th, 1977, two crafts, which were Voyager crafts, were sent from the Kennedy Space Flight Center in Florida. Each one carried a message. It was a golden-plated record showing music, with depicting music, images from Earth, and other sounds as well, it mentions. And yeah, it says these are presented in a way that extraterrestrials would be able to interpret them. Some of the things that they mention here, because he said it's like the Brandenburg Concerto. I can't remember the number 2, was it? Something like that?
Yes, yeah.
That was in Conduit, if I remember right, wasn't it? They were saying, he was picking up different stuff, it was the
I can't say I remember it, to be honest.
In it, there was, saying, do you know the kid how he's picking up different, bits of images? One was, that image of the guy with his arms.
Yes,
with his arms.
Oh, yes, and he did pick, yes, I know what you're saying.
And then one was music as well, and I thought, is that, sort of a reference to that? Saying maybe he was picking up something from that?
It's possible, it's different, well, it's things that are being played on different frequencies, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's that guy called to make ourselves sound stupid? The guy with the arms and the legs.
It's something like the anatomy of humans from something. I have no idea the actual.
I will search.
You find that out because
you continue with the episode.
I'll continue.
As if nothing's happening.
He said that Mulder says that 13 years later, Voyager 1 passed Neptune and left our solar system, and no further messages were sent or planned at that time. He also mentions that in October the 12th, 1992, NASA started their high HR. I put so that's high resolution, was it? Or I can't remember what it actually said now.
I'd love to help, but I was looking at the Vitruvian Man.
Oh, what was his name? Yeah. What was
the Vitruvian Man.
Vitruvian Man.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What were you saying?
So he said in October the 12th, 1992.
The high res microwave server.
I put HR and I was like, is that high res?
High resolution. Yeah.
I shouldn't do shorthand. And then we sort of pan down and we see the Arecibo Observatory, and this is in Puerto Rico. Mulder starts explaining that this survey was to scan millions of different frequencies and look for extraterrestrial transmissions. Yeah. And we zoom into this center. Mulder starts explaining some more about this, saying that this center in particular was shut down by a Nevada senator called Richard Bryan. Mulder states that he wanted to believe, but the tools have been taken away, as the camera shows this facility, and it's clearly been abandoned now. It's got like the plastic all over the instruments, and they're all turned off. He says that the X-Files have been shut down. They've closed our eyes. Our voices have been silenced, and our ears are now deaf to the realms of extreme possibilities.
Kind of sad.
Yeah, it is.
It's kind of sad monologue.
Yeah, it shows you a lot of the state that they're in. It's a good starting point for series 2 because it shows you exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
If you'd never watched season 1, which is alien to think, like these days you'd be like, you wouldn't watch season 1 to go into, but I think back in those days you would just jump in,
especially with a show like this where it is just episode to episode.
So I remember like when I watched Buffy back in the day, like I started at like season 4, something like that. I just jumped in with it and just carried on. But anyway, yes. So we see these machines, and then one of them switches on and starts flashing, and it also starts printing out something and starts playing this Brandenburg concerto, and starts playing a recording of it's in like a German man, like sort of speaking. I can't remember exactly what he was saying.
It was the same clip that they sent up. Which is so it's just the same, basically being played back. Whatever they sent up on the Voyager, it's being played back to them.
Yeah, it's being sent back to them. And I noted with this is. It seems like this is them sending the message back, but if the aliens are already here on this planet, as we sort of get that feeling from like the stuff we found out from last series, then who's playing it back? Like, who's sending this back to them, or what's sending this back?
It gives a lot of questions. I mean, of course, as well, you've got to think it could just be because the Voyager has obviously left the solar system at this point, but it could just be picking up for the frequency from the Voyager still, do you know what I mean? So it's not necessarily anything being sent back, but it is strange that it just started printing off.
The only thing I thought of, this has just popped into my head now, seeing like the rest of the episode, is maybe aliens are on Earth, but they're not the main force, if you know what I mean, or the main lot.
I didn't get the impression aliens were on Earth, to be honest.
Really? Oh, I thought like from the last series that they sort of indicated that they'd sort of something.
Deep Throat mentioned that they are here.
Yeah.
But I assume it's very much the odd one.
Oh, okay.
But that's my take. I could be completely wrong.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then we hit the intro, and
good to be back.
Man, it's good to be back.
Yeah.
I've missed watching the show. I didn't realise how much I'd missed it until that bit started, and I was like, I'm glad I'm watching this again.
Yeah.
We then go to Long Street Motel in Washington, D.C., and it specifically states that this is wiretap 5A21147.
You actually took a note.
Yeah.
That came in handy later on, didn't it?
I know. And we hear someone just having the sleaziest conversation. They're talking about being in strip clubs.
Yeah.
And we pan down and see a collection of sunflower seeds on the desk.
Yeah.
And yeah, at this point you're like, you know who it's going to pan up to, and it does. And we see Mulder. He's back, but
he looks the most miserable man in the world.
He looks lifeless.
Yeah.
Like he's just not there.
Well, straight away, it's a great 5-10 second scene because it tells you everything you need to know. There's even like to the point where the sunflower seeds and he's stopped caring.
Yeah.
That like he's just eating them one after the other, throwing everything on the floor.
Yeah.
And he's just so bored. And we know already. I don't need to be explained what's happening. He's been put onto this wiretap duty for months maybe, and he is just bored to tears.
Yeah. They've sort of just stuffed him into this now, haven't they? And just left him, which is sort of what they go into for the rest of the episode. We cut from this to the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. And we listen to Scully, who's given an autopsy lesson, basically. I thought maybe she'd been turned into sort of a tutor or something like that at the FBI. It doesn't seem that way. It seems like maybe she's just running a guest class.
Yeah, you're just running a quick lecture.
Yeah. And she's the same. She looks like the will has gone from her. She's just by the numbers, just telling them how to do an autopsy, basically.
Yeah.
And she goes on to explain how in this guy's head his life, his memories, his thoughts, and everything about this person is just kept in a mass of tissue and fluid.
A very Mulder thing to bring up.
Yeah.
The sort of cold medical side of Scully wouldn't have ever said that.
That's true, actually.
But it's a very, you know what I mean? It's a very Mulder thing to start thinking about, like, the deeper meaning of things.
Yeah.
So that was quite interesting. I love the next bit.
Yeah, which is funny.
Subtle as ever.
The very next thing that's said to her is a student asks her if she's okay, and she says, am I skipping something?
No.
No, is that the way you're talking about? She says that a student asks if she's okay, and she says she sounds a little spooky.
Kind of spooky.
Yeah.
And then Scully just looks up.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I said it's like she's got a glimmer of hope or something like that. I don't know.
I literally wrote down, don't ever change X-Files. Because it just, rather than just sort of like, subtly put it, no, I'm just going to hit you with a hammer. That, spooky Mulder. He's following you around everywhere.
Yeah, it's not like you said, it's not the most subtle, but hey, it gets the job done.
How many people in this world use the word spooky? Like, spooky's such a childish word, and everyone's using it.
Maybe it's different in '94. I don't remember being.
Maybe everything was spooky, like on the news. It was like spooky events happening today.
Maybe it was like the hit word of the time. You know what I mean? What's the hit word these days?
Do you want to get into this?
Yeah, I want to age this podcast. What do all the kids say?
Oh, I don't even know.
No, neither do I.
What's the new word? I was gonna go into like the only way is Essex, and that's just gonna like that. I think that even that's like 10 years old.
Were you gonna say ream?
I wasn't gonna say that, but I did. What was the other one? The other word that they used? This is gonna be irrelevant to everyone else listening to this. It meant good.
I know. The only thing I know about people these days is they do the floss dance. That's all I've seen.
Yeah.
But I've already brought that up once, and I sound like my dad. Like, you know what I mean? Trying to sound cool. If I'm not good at that flossing dance that you do. Dad, you've said 20 times. Stop it. Yeah, I don't know any modern words.
Spooky? I'm pretty sure spooky is the most modern word that I know.
Oh, man, I've just made us sound so old. To be fair, we're doing a podcast on the X-Files, so, you know, it's like...
It's expected.
We can't be hip. We've got to be...
Hey, X-Files is hip. What are you
Hey, well, that's true. Do you know what? I feel like this is the modern thing these days. You take something classic and retro and you sort of...
You bring it back.
Bring it back.
Bring it back for the new audience. Yeah.
We're cool.
That's what you got to do.
We're hip.
Not when you say it. Let's move on.
Anyway, scene 5. We're at the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. and Mulder's walking down a corridor and he just powers straight past Scully. This was quite a quick scene, or quite a quick interaction between the two, but he just powers straight past her as she tries to say good afternoon to him. She even says, "Good afternoon, Mr. Mulder," and he's straight past her.
She says Detective Mulder.
Did she say detective?
Yeah.
Did I say
Mr. Mulder's my father.
we don't talk.
Sorry to correct you, but yeah, Mr. Mulder sounded weird.
I'd rather know. Yeah, I think it was some kind of like title.
But
I'd
yeah,
go wrong.
she greets him and he doesn't want to know.
Yeah.
So straight away I'm like, whoa, what's happened here? What's going on?
Yeah, it seemed really harsh, but like I felt like there's got to be a reason of why he's doing this. He doesn't seem the type to be this callous, you know what I mean? I know he's sometimes a bit socially inept at stuff or reading cues and stuff, and there's a bit like that later on. But he's never like just mean, you know what I mean?
No, he's
so
not.
It did seem weird. But Scully's face was still... She looked devastated.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Mulder goes and sits at his desk, and he sees that a photo frame is face down. He lifts it up and it's got a note on it. When he takes it off, we see Sam, his sister, in the picture, and he sort of stares at the picture.
Yeah.
I initially thought this was him, like, sort of thinking about the X-Files again and trying to get back into it, not knowing that in the next scene we'll find out what that actually means.
It basically turns out that they've got this sort of signal between them.
Yeah.
Where if the photo frame's down, it means Scully wants to meet.
Basically, yeah. And yeah, lo and behold, we're at the Watergate Hotel and Office Complex. And Scully is pacing in a dark car park, and a man starts walking towards her. And because I didn't know what was coming, I was like, "Who?" Like initially, I thought, "Who is this? Is this like?" I thought maybe this was going to be the replacement for Deep Throat.
I thought it was Deep Throat.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was either going to be Deep Throat or like his replacement.
I think they intend that though, because they literally bring it up as well. Don't they? That Mulder sort of has this Deep Throat look about
again
him.
with the subtlety.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I thought this was actually quite clever because the first thing I thought of was this is the exact scenario we should see Deep Throat.
Yeah,
and Mulder's sort of taking on this role at this point.
Mulder makes a joke. Did you catch what the joke was?
I did. Do you just rely on me to transcribe all the jokes?
Basically.
He tells her that $4 for the first hour of parking is criminal.
That was it, yeah.
And what she has better be worth 45 minutes.
I just put, he's such a joker. And then I was like...
checks will do the rest. That's what you was like.
She says that that he looked exactly like him, and says that he looked like Deep Throat. And Mulder then goes on to say that it's definitely not, because I was at his funeral via a pair of binoculars.
Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It just goes to show how much Deep Throat meant to him, though, that he was willing to go to that length just to see his funeral.
Yeah. And to actually make sure he's dead, make sure it's not some kind of scheme as well, I would imagine. So. And then Mulder explains the signal, says the picture frame was down, so he knew she wanted to talk. And she says that she hasn't found anything, but she just wanted to talk. To which he says, we can't, it's too dangerous to just talk, to just have a conversation. And she says that she hasn't seen anyone watching them or following her. And he says, obviously, you wouldn't, because they're the best at what they do. And she brings up the fact that the X-Files is done now, so why would they even care about them? Why would they even bother? To which he says, you wouldn't have done this so covertly if you didn't think there was an issue. So again, just shows that the stakes that she's willing to go through just to talk to Mulder. It should really, I think this episode really cements where their relationship is, without
a doubt. I think, I'll skip ahead a little bit, but all the way through this episode, I think a major theme is Mulder's self-doubt.
Yeah.
And that's sort of drilled into you right from the start. It's Mulder's self-doubt. When in actual fact, I don't actually think that's it at all.
Yeah.
I think he uses that as of course, it's partly that. But I think the episode's actually about Mulder's loss of Scully more than anything else, and I think he goes on to say that the reason why he's self-doubting is because he's not got the evidence. He's not got something tangible to hold, to see, to hear, which is what Scully taught him. And then as you get on later on in the episode, I sort of picked up that it was Scully that was providing that for him. He was allowed to go all fantastical and chase dreams because Scully would find the grounded aspects of that case. So ergo, you get Scully back, you get your evidence back in a sort of weird way. Do you know what I mean? Like, the cases start to make sense again. So I feel like it's all about Scully.
Yeah, with Scully, he sort of gets that tangibility of the actual case. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, to be fair.
He's done that all through season 1. He plays this little game where he can convince Scully he's done his job. Because Scully's always going to doubt him. So all he has to do, he knows he can convince the rest of the world if he can convince this one person.
Yeah, that's true.
So she grounds him. And that, I really, like, looking back at this episode as we are, it really drives home. I think that the main theme is he's struggling with the loss of working with Scully. I honestly believe that.
And she just explains that she just wanted to see if he's all right. And he's a bit clueless, doesn't really have the tact to understand that. And he explains what he's doing there. He explains that he's on electronic surveillance and he's looking into frauds, basically. She says she knows it's frustrating that without the FBI's resources, it's hard to continue, but she thinks that he hasn't stopped looking for the truth. And then he goes on to explain about the Palomar Observatory in San Diego. He says that from 1948 until recently, it was the largest telescope in the world. He says that it was designed by George Ellery Hale, which I didn't think would be a big deal. I'm glad I wrote it down now, actually thinking of it. But yeah, he said he was designed by George Ellery Hale, who got the idea from an elf who climbed in the window.
This is his perspective of events, obviously.
Yeah, and basically told him to get or seek some money from the Rockefeller Foundation for a telescope. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Scully jokes about him seeing elves all his life, to which he says no, he sees little green men.
Yeah.
And I think this is the catalyst for this doubt that he's having is him trying to say his aliens that he keeps seeing might be as fake as this guy's elves.
Yeah.
And she assures him that he's seen so much with the X-Files, and he says, but he's seen these things, but he's got no solid evidence still. He says he's only heard of that from Scully, which, like we said at the end of the last series, Scully was the one who saw the alien, and if it was Mulder, this would be a very different situation. But and she says that he's always held on to his sister's abduction. And then he says that he's even wondering if that's ever really happened.
This hit home when he said that, because I was like, oh God, he's a broken man at this point.
And I don't think he fully believes what he's saying there.
No.
I think he's just frustrated.
Feeling sorry for himself a little bit.
And she tells him not to give up. She gets up and leaves and says that next time they meet, he'll be out in the open.
Yeah. There was another little quote from Scully, which I think was really important, which was she says that even if Hale only saw the elves in his mind, he still went and built the telescope. So the results were tangible. So what she's sort of trying to say to Mulder is, if you push through this self-doubt, regardless of what you think it might be, if you get the results at the end, the journey doesn't make a difference. You got there, do you know what I mean?
And then just before we finish this scene, I like how he looks up at the sign and sees the Watergate Hotel parking. It's literally a sign about conspiracy. I was like, okay, fair enough. I thought that was quite funny though, like how it was.
Nice little nod.
Yeah. We then get a flashback.
I didn't know it was a flashback at the start.
Oh yes, yeah. We go back to 1973. I don't know if it actually says this.
It definitely doesn't now.
I've got this from the script again, so I don't know if you're meant to know this at the time, but it's on the script it says that this is November 27th, 1973 in Chilmark, Massachusetts. It just says Mass, I assume that's Massachusetts. And we start seeing a TV report about Watergate, so it's a nice little connection from that sign that we see. And we see a young Mulder, and he's playing a board game, Stratego, I think. Have you ever played that?
No.
I've seen it, and I think as a kid I was like, oh, that looks cool.
I don't think I've ever seen it, to be honest.
I've never played it. I don't even know the rules. It looks like chess or something like that, but I don't know. But hey, if you've ever played Stratego, or if you know what it is, let us know. What they actually...
We don't want to Google it.
Too lazy for that. And young Mulder's pretty much the same as adult Mulder. I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
The only difference is he's wearing a baseball jersey. But then again, he wore one of those once, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the same guy.
Little Mulders.
And then I realised what we were seeing. I was like, this is the abduction. We're going to actually see this abduction actually happening. And lo and behold, the house starts to shake. And we start seeing a flashing light outside. And we hear that, like, electric hum. The door handle starts, like, opening. And we see that there's, like, the door opens. And there's just this blinding light.
Yeah, bright white light.
And Mulder sort of turns around after he's, like, stunned by this. And sort of turns back to it. And he sees that Samantha's floating. She's just floating in the air. He runs up to, like, a cupboard. Or on top of a cupboard. And gets his box, throws it down, and there's a gun in there, like a pistol, and he aims it at the whatever this is, but he sort of freezes. There's another blinding light, and we see this figure just in the doorway.
Yeah, like this sort of long, skinny humanoid figure.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's got head and arms.
Looks
and
alien.
legs,
Let's put it.
Yeah, it looks exactly like an alien. And at this point, I didn't know if it is an alien or what it is. I mean, judging by some of the stuff that I've read after, it has to be an alien, like, standing at the doorway, and this is the shape of them, and this is, like, the first time we see, apart from the dead alien, this is the first live alien we see. And then, as this is happening, we see Sam basically floating out of the window as Mulder sort of just
screams for her.
Yeah, he's paralysed by it.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, when we heard about this in, I think it was Mulder's hypnotherapy tapes. Yeah. I seem to remember he was in bed.
I thought that, he was in bed.
Like, because I remember him saying he couldn't move.
Yeah.
Like, he could hear his sister screaming, but he couldn't move himself. He was sort of frozen in bed. Yeah. So it does differ slightly from what we've heard before.
That's what I thought, because the memory I have of it was he was in bed, just stuck there, like a statue in bed. But yeah.
But it does make a nice parallel to the end of the episode as well.
Exactly.
That scene with the gun.
Yeah.
So, I'm okay with taking sort of creative license on it.
Yeah. That the scene at the end there, thinking of it, is like, at this point he's paralysed by fear, can't shoot, and we'll get to it, but he is shooting, but nothing's happening. It's the exact opposite. So, that sort of ties in well. We then cut to Mulder's apartment. And Mulder wakes up sharply. This was a dream, from what we gather. He gets up in the dark, and he's just pacing around his room. And we hear like a noise at the door. And it just opens up, and there's a man standing in the doorway. And he basically says to Mulder, "We're going to the hill."
So we then go to basically what we find to be Senator Matheson's office.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of questions about this scene, but we'll get into it. You can look through it first.
Well, we see Capitol Building, or what's it called? It is called Capitol Building, isn't it, or something like Capitol.
I'd love to tell you.
It's the White House, basically, isn't it? No, it's not the White House. It's called Capitol Hill, isn't it? Like the actual hill it's on.
It
that's what
would make sense. Yeah,
that's what he meant by the hill.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah, because they're two separate things. I don't know why I just thought maybe it's the White House, because now there's Capitol Hill and then there's the White House. Anyway, showing our knowledge of or lack thereof of American politics.
To be fair, the more this is going off on a tangent a little bit, but the more I review this podcast, the more I realise that we're not really taught that much about America.
No.
Which is strange, as it's basically like the world powerhouse.
Of the West, anyway.
Yeah. And we're not really taught that much about it. Even to, the discovery of America, it's touched briefly upon in sort of senior school education.
Do you reckon it's sort of something to do with... obviously not now, because I think it's a long time forgiven. But do you think that always comes from us?
The Reds vs Blues.
Yeah, trying to forget about us being basically the oppressor in that story.
I don't know. We've talked about this before, that the victor always writes history, doesn't it? But I feel like with it being such a huge powerhouse, I'm not sure really, but it just seems odd to me that I know more about Germany than America.
But saying that, Germany's relatively right next door compared to America, and we've had a lot of interaction with them throughout.
Yeah, so I suppose.
I think because they're European, I think maybe we know more about like European countries and stuff. I know more about
it's
France.
possible. It just seems like such a close relationship between England and the United States. It just feels weird how, like, literally everything I know about America I've learned from books, TV, and films.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's never been taught to me. So like, it's a strange. I've only just realised that watching this series through, because I don't have to, like, if I was watching a normal television series and I saw this building, I wouldn't have to think twice about it. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Yeah.
Now I have to say what building it is, and I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like it's strange. Really off tangents.
Do you know what though? It's an interesting point though, because like saying that, like, we only know stuff from books, TV, and stuff, but isn't that how most people learn about things these days?
Yeah, it's like self-education, I suppose.
I'd say I know most of my stuff about like history and the world from like watching things, playing things. You know, that's I've learnt most about like history from like playing Civilization and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, a bit of a tangent, but yeah. Wherever this building is, Capitol Hill, I'm pretty sure it is.
Yes, we'll go with
that. Anyway, the two men walk into the office. It's very official, this place is. It's and the man who brings him in says, did I say the two men? Or because it's Mulder, isn't it? Yeah, it's Mulder. Yeah. Mulder and the guy. I don't know why I wrote two men. Two men. I guess technically
you are correct.
Anyway, so they walk in, and the guy who's escorting Mulder says, Senator Matheson. So we learn a bit about this guy. He's listening to the Brandenburg Concerto No. 2, to which Mulder, he asks him what music this is. Mulder says No. 3, and he corrects him. And he turns around and we see him. I thought he kind of looked a bit like an old John Cena. I don't know why. I just looked at him and I was like, that's like what he'd be look like when
I definitely didn't have that thought.
Maybe it's just me,
I was more just, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Like, I got the feeling where they was going with it, and I was just like, why have we not heard about this guy before?
I think that's always the way with like TV series, and it like in series 3 a character will be like, hi, I'm Jeff, and he'd be like, I've been here since the beginning. You're like, no, you haven't. Like, where have you... But it's just one of those things. But I got bad vibes from this guy straight away. I did not like his character.
Well, we'll get into it. So basically, this character, what we're supposed to believe is he's higher than Mulder, and he's been telling Mulder to look into things.
Yeah.
And you get the impression that it was through Matheson's contacts that he got the job in the X-Files. They sort of allude to that, don't they? Because Mulder feels like he's let them down. The X-Files are shut down.
Yeah, that's where it sort of goes with it. But yeah, we'll carry on with the rest of the
But where was he when Mulder needs all the help and he was going to Deep Throat every 2 seconds?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, where was you, Matheson?
Where were you, Matheson? Anyway, he's explaining about that this music is the first piece of music that was on the Voyager, and he says that even after the sun burns out, it will still be out there. And he says, imagine if another civilization out there would were to hear this music. He says they would think that Earth is a wonderful place, to sort of get that sort of message that something is coming to get us, basically. And he says that he would want this music to be our first contact with another life form. Mulder apologizes, like you said, for letting them down, and he says that we're close, but they got shut down. And he says he doesn't know what he was getting close to. Matheson laughs, and he starts to write something down on a bit of paper. It shows it him, and he just says they may be listening. Okay. So again, even this guy who's a senator is still under scrutiny and still is a bit cautious about who is, on their side, I guess.
And it also explains why the music's blaring. To drown out their voices.
Yeah, exactly. And he starts up the music again because the music finishes. Yeah. He starts up the music, and they go over to sort of a corner, and he asks him about the high-resolution microwave survey, and he tells him that there's there's a radio tower basically in Puerto Rico, which is the one that we saw at the beginning.
Yeah.
And he says that he's basically got 24 hours to get there before the Blue Beret UFO retrieval team get there.
Yeah.
And they'll shut it down, and they've also been authorized to use lethal force basically to stop anyone. And it gives him a note with the readout from the station, and as he walks away, he just simply says, "Contact."
Yeah, Mulder asks, doesn't he, what am I supposed to be looking for?
Yeah. Contact. Yeah, and I put a note to this. I don't like this guy. I don't like his character, but I don't know if it's because the character's bad. I just think there's some bad vibes coming from him.
Yeah, it's the same bad vibes you get from the cigarette smoking man.
Yeah,
It's an authoritarian figure whose intentions we don't quite know.
Yeah,
and that's always going to give people a bad vibes.
I suppose it's sort of like Deep Throat when we learnt that he was playing both sides.
Yeah.
Even though that was never resolved really before he popped his clogs, I suppose.
Well, he did sacrifice his life.
Yeah.
So I assume he was on their side.
Yeah. It's just a weird thing to throw in there now, thinking of it. If I don't know. Anyway, that was last series. We're on to new stuff now.
Yeah, we forget everything from season 1.
Yeah. We go back to the FBI headquarters, and Skinner makes his return.
They are listening to a recording of Scully talking about Mulder. Basically, she's being interviewed as to why Mulder hasn't shown up for work that day. Mm-hmm.
It concerns about Mulder's whereabouts and why he didn't turn up for his assignment. And the cigarette smoking man is also there. And he's listening in. Skinner tells the cigarette smoking man who's there listening that Scully doesn't know where Mulder is. And he says that he knows this because she wouldn't be so worried if she did.
Good deduction skills, to be honest.
Yeah. That's why he's at the top of the FBI.
Yeah, that's why he's at the top.
He's bloody good, this guy is. And we see that the cigarette smoking man he's out of cigarettes.
Yeah, and he blames Skinner straight away. He just looks at him like with these evil glance.
I put without cigarettes and smoking, is he just a man now? what is his purpose? And Skinner tells him that he doesn't smoke, so he crushes his empty packet and.
Well, I mean, you probably smoke them all. I see him chain 3 or 4 every episode at this point.
He needs more than one pack.
You can't just blame people as soon as he runs out of cigarettes.
Yeah, it's irresponsible, this guy is.
They're not infinite. It's not a magical pack of cigarettes.
He says that at this that she'll find him. So we go back to Arecibo. Well, we don't go back. Well, we do actually technically. Yeah, we go back. We go back to Arecibo, and Mulder's riding in the back of a wagon. He's hitched a ride there.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like the dude who's in Broken Sword.
Well, what I thought was, like the like Barbie and Ken's.
Yeah.
Like I thought, like Mulder has got his backpacker outfit on. It was just such a stereotypical
hiker Ken.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hiker Mulder. Complete with dictaphone.
And his boots.
Dictaphone was dictape.
It's a dictaphone, yeah, where you record back on stuff.
Yeah, but isn't it called a dictape as well?
Dictape. I don't think it's one of those.
Let's continue.
He walks up to a fence and we see a sign for the National Astronomy, and the sign also says no trespassing.
Big padlock.
That didn't stop Mulder.
No.
He wades through a river, climbs over a hill, and then he sees the station in the distance. It's bigger than I thought it was. It looks like in the interior shots and stuff, it just looks like this little shed, basically.
Yeah.
But then the exterior ones are like this huge, like,
it's
array.
Like a compound, isn't it? Yeah.
Basically. And he breaks in with some bolt cutters. And as he's doing this, he's taping himself with this dictaphone. And he says,
Are you sure it's a dictaphone?
I'm pretty sure it's a dictaphone.
Right, you continue. I'm gonna do my thing. I've got dictape in my head. That's not a dictape, is it?
No.
What's dictape then?
I have no idea. I think you've just combined dictaphone and a tape.
Oh, you know what I've done? Just duct tape.
Yeah.
It's let me just double check. Dictaphone. Yeah, dictaphones are a thing. It's a dictaphone.
A dictape,
not duct tape.
Or a dictape. Dictape.
We know it's not duct tape. We know that.
Didn't mean to say dictape then. I was trying to say dictape. Oh god. Anyway. But yeah, he's taping himself on the dictaphone, and he says that there's no evidence around the control room of. Well, it just says there's no evidence. Basically.
Yeah, he's not said anything.
He's not specified anything. And it's locked up with chain. He breaks him with some bolt cutters, and the power's out. But the control lights are all still on.
Yeah.
And he says that there's no indication of people being here recently, and he also sees that the tape machine that we saw earlier is still whirring away, basically.
Yeah.
Scully is in Mulder's apartment, and she is listening to an answer phone message. Bit of a saucy answer phone message.
Yeah.
From a woman.
I'm pretty sure Scully wasn't happy about this.
Well, I want to know who this person is, because like he doesn't seem to have any interest in the opposite sex whatsoever. So who's he taking on a date?
But then again, well, I don't think he does, because he's upped and left at the first opportunity. But he's bored at work. He's bored with his life. He's doubting himself. Maybe he's just sort of. He's gone to a few bars, do you know what I mean?
Maybe he's just trying to get like an alibi or something like that. Or
alibi for what, though?
I don't know. Maybe he's just
It's
trying.
not a very good alibi if she's ratted him out on his answer machine.
Yeah.
As soon as he's gone away. Where are you? You're not here. No one knows where you are.
Maybe he was talking it up, like saying, "Oh, I got this big date I'm going to," and they all just assume that he's going on.
Yeah,
this
but he
big
didn't
date.
have to get a date to then leave an answer machine message saying you didn't turn up for this date.
What if the feds were investigating his date, and then they find out it's not real person, whereas this one he's actually spoke to, I don't know, Rebecca.
Yeah, and he didn't turn up because she left this message. Why would he do that?
I don't know. I'm trying to come up with a reason as to why. I was vamping. Anyway, this woman is talking about lunch and says that he didn't show, so it shows that he's up and left, as you said. And she turns on his computer. We get that CRT warm up.
Yeah.
I've not seen that in a while. Where it just slowly fills the screen as it does it. And she's trying to access his files on there. She's in Finder on his computer, and she's trying to find anything in there basically. Yeah. So she tries a password. Tries spooky. Yeah. No luck, surprisingly.
It's one of the hot new words of the summer.
Yeah, but too easy. It'd be like putting password down if it is the hot word of the summer. She then tries Samantha, which is probably a better guess.
Did you think it was going to be Scully? I thought it was going to be Scully.
There was a part of me that did think that, that I thought maybe it might be Scully. Yeah. But maybe that's too on the nose.
Yeah, maybe.
Trying to... Then again, this is X-Files.
Yeah, talking about on the nose. What was the password, Luke?
So yeah, she tries another password, and it's trust no one.
Oh, okay.
And it works.
Yeah, I like how she guessed like it was the number one as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that is good password sort of etiquette, you know what I mean? He's got some capitals in there. Yeah. He's got a number.
No punctuation, though.
That's he would fail the strong password check.
Needs an exclamation mark.
Google would flip if you tried to use that as a password. Anyway, she notices that on these files are coordinates. Basically, she even says they're global coordinates. So she prints out a copy. But as this is happening, we see a shadow come under the door, and there's somebody outside, and two agents basically burst in. And they ask what she's doing there. At this time, the coordinate sort of print off falls onto the floor. Yeah, you know that's going to come back into it. She gives this story about how whenever Mulder's not here, she comes to feed his fish. Yeah. They find the printout on the floor. They look at it. You think, oh no, they've rumbled him. Yeah. And the guy dismisses it as some kind of computer self-test. Yeah. Screws it up, throws it away.
Yeah, doesn't need any further investigation.
Yeah, it's probably not worth the time. Scully, thinking on her feet, spills some of the fish food. and tries to clean it up. And she needs something to clean it up with. Grabs the paper that he's just threw in there, cleans it onto there, throws it away, and sort of pretends to throw the paper
nice
away.
Little sleight of hand,
She's learning some tricks.
Yeah.
I feel like she used to be a lot more clean cut, and now she's getting this edge to her, I suppose.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
We cut back to Mulder, who is messing around with a tape machine at this in Arecibo, and he goes to drink his water, but he's run out. You can see he's sweaty. It must be boiling hot in this room. So he heads to the toilet to try and fill up his water, and as he opens the door, there's a man inside, and he screams.
Jorge. I love Jorge.
This bit legit made me jump. I didn't expect
it was terrifying.
Yeah, I weren't expecting him. I weren't expecting a Puerto Rican guy to jump out of a cupboard screaming. So yeah, it was. It did make me jump. And he starts shouting in Puerto Rican. Is that the language?
I think it's Spanish.
Is it Spanish?
I think it's Spanish.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
I could be wrong. It could, because I know, again, showing my lack of sort of knowledge. I know, like, Brazil, the national language of Brazil is Portuguese.
Yeah.
And obviously Mexico is Spanish. So I think I'm pretty sure it's Spanish. Like
it's got that kind of like sounding to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the few words that Mulder knows, like hombre,
Yeah.
is definitely Spanish.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it could be another language as well. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. We'll not say for certain that it is any language.
Well, no, we will. We'll assume it's Spanish and move on.
Yeah. Good callback. And he says that he starts trying to speak to him, and he starts asking him if he speaks English, to which the guy says that he doesn't.
Yeah.
And he says that his name is Jorge. And Mulder asks why he's afraid, and he starts pointing up and starts speaking in his language again.
Yeah.
Did it have subtitles for you in this part?
No.
No, that's good, because it didn't for me either.
No. Yeah.
And we'll come back to that, because I've got the translation of what he says.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah.
Because I at first I thought maybe I'm missing something, because I saw this and I was reading the script and whatnot, and I saw that and I thought maybe I'm meant to have.
No, I don't think you're supposed to.
But yeah. So Mulder says that he doesn't understand, and he takes a pen from his pocket and just draws on the wall, and we see what is.
Well, you know what we see.
Yeah.
He likes Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He draws our logo.
He's a big fan.
And he's a big fan. Free advertising for us. I'm not going to complain.
Shame what happens to him though, isn't it? Yeah. Another fan down the sun.
We've lost 2 listeners tonight.
Yeah. Oh dear. We only want one of them back.
You listening, Carter?
What a joke.
I'm going to keep this on throughout the season.
Or is it? Anyway, the translation of what he actually says was, he starts by saying, "Please don't hurt me." Obvious.
Well, sorry, before you get onto that,
Yeah.
jokes aside, he draws an alien's head on the side of the wall.
Yeah.
It's not our podcast logo. He's definitely not drawing that.
If someone can re-edit that scene and that moment, they put our logo on the wall.
So yeah,
would be perfect.
he draws like an alien head, and Mulder just looks on shocked. But yeah, anyway, the translation.
Yeah. So yeah, he started off by saying, "Please don't hurt me," when he opens the door. He goes on to say, "We have to leave." And then when he asks him what he's scared about, he says that there were lights in the sky, red, blue, orange, and he says, "I thought it was an aeroplane that had to go through the trees, but when I got here," this is, I don't know how
a rough translation
this is, yeah. He says, "But when I got here, I saw men like animals, but not men. They took me and put me here. They are still in the woods."
Ooh, interesting. That does add a little bit to the episode. Okay.
Yeah. Cause,
I like that.
Like if I didn't see that, at the end when we get to that part, I would have thought maybe it's an hallucination. But now I do wonder if it's more than that, especially with some of the stuff we saw about the what the creators say as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, we go back to it doesn't say where this is, but it's the U.S. Naval Observatory. And Mulder is speaking to a professor. It doesn't name, but this guy's called Dr. Troitsky. I don't know if that'll come back later on, or if that's just his name for this show. And he starts looking at this readout that Scully's printed off, and he says that it looks like the wow signal. To which she asks, "What's the wow signal?" And he explains that he had a telescope. Well, not he had a telescope. There was a telescope in Ohio looking for extraterrestrial signals, and he says that his friend Jerry Eminem, is that right?
I don't know. I just put a friend.
Friend, yeah.
I didn't think it was that important information, but
Probably not. No.
Basically, his friend had a similar signal.
Yeah.
Which is the most proof that they could possibly get for extraterrestrial life, and this signal is even better than that.
Basically,
so he's psyched about it, basically.
And the reason why it's called the wow signal is he wrote wow in the margin when he saw it, so it's more of a name they've given it.
They've gave it. They coined.
Yeah. And she asks where. Well, he explains that there's some sites that would be still looking for this signal. And he explains that there's some in California, in Harvard, and he also says that there's one in Arecibo. He basically starts listing out these places, to which Mulder can then start investigating. Scully can start investigating.
You've really reverted
4 weeks.
Episode
These 4 weeks, yeah.
But yeah, this is a good bit of detective work from Scully, because she has a look through all like the sort of the manifestos of all the flights going to each of those locations. And of course, who should she find? A Mr. George Hale, which obviously Mulder's using as an alias.
So we know that this is the flight that Mulder got on. We then go back to Arecibo, and Jorge's looking at the equipment, whilst Mulder starts explaining about the signal, saying that it came from beyond lunar distance. Jorge starts touching some of the buttons, and Mulder tells him, "No ho on the roho," which I don't know if that translates into anything. I just made me chuckle. Jorge stops doing what he's doing, and Mulder carries on to say that the message started repeating again, but this time on a wider band. That he says that this means that it's closer, or it's getting closer
within miles. He says,
At this point, the tape machine starts playing the message again, and Jorge starts freaking out at this. Yeah. And as Mulder goes over to investigate, there's a high pitched noise, and Mulder starts trying to calm Jorge down. He tells him not to be afraid, but as he turns around, Jorge's ran off into the jungle, or
nothing but a smoke trail behind him.
And he's gone into this massive storm as well. Like so Mulder goes out, and we see this is a proper full-on storm raging outside. And he's looking around just to try and find him, and unfortunately he does, and he's up against a tree. What can only be described as frozen in fear. His sort of like arms are stretched out as though he's trying to stop something. Yeah. He's dead. So we then cut to the Miami International Airport, and Scully is sat reading a paper, and she quite cleverly uses her makeup mirror. She looks as though she's trying to put some makeup on, but she's actually looking around using the mirror to try and see if there's anyone tailing her. Yeah. She gets up and heads towards her gate, and as she gets up, she notices that there's a couple who are sat nearby who also get up and walk towards her. Yeah. And you can tell straight away. Yeah,
as she turns back, they all they stall. Oh, what's this?
Yeah. The worst tailing in the world. She leaves and goes to a payphone, and she. This is quick thinking, really quick thinking on her part. She calls Mulder, goes to his answer phone, and I thought she left some kind of coded message at first until I wrote it down and I realised what it actually was. She says CA 519 705 950. This is, as you find out later, this is the boarding information for the California flight. Yeah. Or a California flight. She hangs up and looks at a hot dog stand that's got like the reflection of this couple, and she calls another number on there, and it's the talking clock. She gets the time. I don't know. I can't remember what it is.
She's just stalling for time at this point, and she's waiting for them to sort of turn away.
Yeah, and she watches the couple. They get up and they look for Scully at this phone booth, but they can't see her. And as they walk away, the guy says says to relax. She says they know where she's going, and basically repeats that flight number, what she's just said. Yeah. So she's fed them this false info, basically.
I kind of found it funny because this obviously wasn't that guy's voice. Like, you could tell it was added after.
Yeah.
So, like, I wonder whether, like, they filmed this scene and the general opinion from, like, sort of test audiences was, we don't understand what's happened here. So they had to get the guy to turn around and say, oh, the flight number, which is CA, this, and this, to spell it out. Do you know what I mean?
That makes sense, actually, yeah.
To be fair, like, when I was the same as you, when she just started saying CA and then a number, I thought it was a coded message of sorts. But obviously, it was the flight number, and I think that's what happened, because it obviously wasn't his voice.
Yeah. Either that, or he had a terrible voice.
Well, his mouth wasn't moving when he was talking. Like, he was backwards, but you could still see his jaw not moving. You know what I mean?
He's like something like that.
Yeah, he's gonna be really
covert.
secretive.
He's like, keep it on the down low. It got me for some reason. Scully watches as they leave, and then she goes and buys a ticket for San Juan. So she's off to Puerto Rico. We then cut back to Arecibo. Jorge is laid out on a table, and Mulder starts recording, states the time, and then starts doing an investigation of Jorge and his death, basically.
Yeah.
He says that there's no apparent external injuries, there's no needles or probes that are sort of common with abductions. And he also says that it appears as though rigor mortis is setting in less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And he says basically, the exact line was, "My God, Scully, it's as if he's been frightened to death." I thought this was important as well, because it shows you he's doing this for Scully's benefit. You know what I mean? Like, he's still... The X-Files might be closed, but they're still a team.
Which is what I was... This is what I was saying earlier, which was... It sort of all leads into this where... You know, he keeps on going on about how he needs this evidence, and this dictaphone is his evidence. That's what he's using it for. And then you realise this dictaphone, he's using it to talk to Scully as if this dictaphone's his substitute.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I found it really interesting that he starts talking to her directly, because she's the only person he can trust, and he knows that, and that's when he starts. He's sort of... He wants her there. He's missing having Scully around. Definitely.
He stops at this point as he's doing this, and he walks away. He looks scared, or at the prospect anyway. He starts recording again, and he says that there's no evidence at all. He says the printouts indicate contact from another life form, but he says he can't see them.
Yeah.
And he starts doubting himself again. He thinks that maybe this is just a military satellite or something else. Like, and he even at one point says maybe he was sent here by one of these people who's trying to set him up for a joke, basically.
Yeah.
And he remembers. He starts repeating Deep Throat's final words of "trust no one," but he says that's hard. Leading this life where he's doubting everyone, it's wearing him down.
Yeah.
And he says that he's starting to doubt what he knows is the truth. He also says that before he could only trust himself, but now the only person he can trust is Scully, which again is another massive like change in their dynamic, that they are so tied together now.
It was the next line there, he says, and they've taken you away from me. I pulled my heartstrings a little bit, because he feels lost.
Yeah.
That's the sense you get. He just feels lost without her.
He says that his life up until now has been about seeing her, meaning Sam, and them, meaning some kind of extraterrestrial. But then he says, what would he do if they came here?
Well, we're about to find out.
Well, exactly. The table starts vibrating, as does the room, and the lights go out. And we see the same flashing lights we saw at the start, with the machinery going haywire. The printouts start, and the tape machine starts playing these like weird noises, and like it starts playing a distorted version of the clip. And he starts playing back his message on the dictaphone, and it appears like the tape machine repeats it back to him.
It does, yeah. This gave me chills. This does, because it takes. I think it's takes the line "trust no one."
Yeah.
And it picks it up.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, this tape is only taking frequencies that aren't used by anybody else on the planet. So this message has been heard by somebody and then put onto a different frequency.
Yeah.
So it gave me chills. It really did. I really like this whole scene. I sort of just went. It gave me shivers down my spine.
And there's still more to come. The door flies open at this point. We see that bright light again, and he runs towards it and bolts and barricades it. The sounds and the lights start disappearing, and he goes to the door, and again there's this blinding light. And as the door starts to open, Mulder backs off and pulls his gun, much like in the abduction we saw earlier.
Yeah.
And this time he tries to fire it, as we said, but it doesn't work. Like, he just keeps pulling the trigger, but nothing happens. He pulls the slide back to try and load another bullet, thinking maybe it's jammed. Still nothing. He keeps doing it. He checks that the clip's actually full, and still nothing. And then as he looks back up, we see this same humanoid shape.
So you can see the legs. You don't really see the head, do you?
Do you know what? You have to mess around with the contrast to actually see it.
Oh, do you see it? Yeah.
If you mess around with the contrast, you do see more of a strong outline, but it's because it's so bright.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see that same sort of outline in it. And then it cuts to black. You're left with that. Yeah, we cut back now and we see another light shining, but it's a torch. And we find that it's Scully. She's finally found Mulder. Mulder has been knocked out, and he's waking back up.
Which, again, it's not addressed in this episode, but for the record, I'd like to put it out there that this means Scully's waded through water, broke into this military compound to get to him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's gone through to the ends of the world to get to him at this point. Yeah. So fair play. Like, it's mutual. This sort of loss of partnership, you know what I mean?
Yeah, their connection is, well, you know, at this point they would do anything for each other. And Scully looks concerned that she's been knocked out. I think she thinks that she might have been, he's got some memory loss or something like that, because she starts explaining who she is. And Mulder then says that it's the ones who took her, basically meaning it's Sam, the ones who took Sam. And she asks if they were really here or if they were just in his head. And he says he's got evidence on the tapes, and he says that the printouts can prove it. He then goes over, flips the table, and says, he shows the doorway, which, I mean, that's a hell of a thing to just show somebody who's just walking up and say, oh, there's a dead guy there. The building starts to shake again, and Scully asks if that's them, and Mulder says no, it's not. They run outside and they see an army van driving up, and we see for the first time these blue berets that they've been talking about.
Yeah.
And he explains that they'll kill the two of them if they get up here, and he says that they need to get Jorge's body out. Scully rightly says we'd never be able to get him out of the country, never mind move him to a car and whatnot in time. And we see this van getting closer as it cuts back to it. Mulder starts to look through the readouts while Scully says that they need to leave. And he runs back in, because they leave, and he runs back in to grab some more evidence. He grabs one of the tape reels. They run to their van and jump in just as this van starts pulling up. They drive through one of the fences just as the Blue Berets start jumping out, and they basically open fire as they're fleeing. This is quite a action-packed scene, to be fair. I summarised it in 2 lines, but basically this big high-octane chase scene where Mulder's a hell of a rally driver.
He keeps control of the car.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty good at this. This van is trying to cut him off getting down to the bottom of this hill, but Mulder managed to outmaneuver them and drive away, basically.
Yeah, they escape.
Quite a tense scene though, because I mean, I know they've been shot at before, and we've said in the other episode, I can't remember which one. It was one about the serial killer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where he shot at them.
But nothing like this.
That's the thing. This is the army, the military, like firing on them. It's a government attacking them, so it's really ramping up how against things they are again now. But anyway, we cut back now to Skinner's office. And Skinner is absolutely chewing Mulder out for abandoning his post on this wiretapping.
Yeah.
He says that because he wasn't there to pick up on things, this case has fell through. And he starts listing all the ways that Mulder could be punished because of this. Mulder says that he understands, and he understands why he should be punished for like abandoning his post. But he just says he had enough evidence 3 days in that he could have nailed this guy. He said they just left him there to just keep doing this wiretapping and basically forgotten them. And he also brings up the fact that they basically tracked him down when he went AWOL.
Yeah.
They wiretapped his phone,
which is illegal.
Yeah, which he says. And Skinner looks up at the cigarette smoking man, who is in the office as well, who walks over, and the cigarette smoking man always has these one-off lines that sort of, with impact. He says his time's over, and he leaves with nothing. Skinner, bit of a turn of character here.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, he shouts and tells him to get out.
Well, he tells him to get out, and you assume it's Mulder at first.
That's what you think, yeah.
But then he gives Skinner the cigarette smoking man, this look. And the cigarette smoking man just sort of withdraws and just leaves.
Yeah.
And I loved this.
Yeah,
I thought this was great because it's complete turnaround of what I actually thought, which I thought these two were in cahoots.
Yeah.
But what I'm beginning to sort of start to think is that the cigarette smoking man obviously pulls the strings and he's sort of figuring out what's going on. And Skinner's sort of doing his work, but only to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Like, later on, Mulder asks whether his case is going to sort of be reviewed, and he tells him no, we need more evidence. And I was like, he's punishing Mulder. He doesn't want to fire him.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to get rid of Mulder. He's not going to put an innocent man on the streets. Do you know what I mean? He's just giving him a little bit of a hard time because he's not been there.
He's whacked there, basically.
Yeah. So he's just doing his job.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, really. I quite like this.
Yeah, as you said, he sends him back to do some more surveillance, puts him back on the job, basically. And we pan back down to an ashtray where there's still a cigarette smoking in it.
Mm.
But yeah, there's definitely more to Skinner than we know.
And I'm interested.
Yeah, this series, I get the feeling we're going to learn a bit more about Skinner, or his role in this.
I'm hoping Skinner is sort of swayed to their side.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
So we then cut back to the Long Street Motel, and this is wiretap 5A21147. What is the difference between numbers, actually? Just, I'm interested now if there's actually a number difference. It was 47 when it at the end. No, it's exactly the same.
Well, that was a worthwhile minute of our podcast.
Well... Yeah, you win some, you lose some, guys. Mulder and Scully are reviewing this tape that he grabbed, but it's blank. And Mulder's just annoyed about this. Scully says that maybe there was an electrical storm and it might have degaussed the tape and wiped it, basically. And she just flat out says that he's still got nothing, which I thought was a bit of a... don't kick him while he's down. He knows. But Mulder says that he may not have the X-Files, but he still has his work. I don't know if at this point he actually meant... I don't know if he means actually investigating extraterrestrials, or if he just meant...
No, I think extraterrestrials, because he says, my work, he has Scully and he has himself.
Yeah.
So I feel like it wasn't a jokey sentence.
Yeah.
He was saying he's still got his actual job, which is investigating the occult.
I like when he says he still has Scully, because she looked quite shocked that he actually is so honest about... I'm saying feelings, not like romantic feelings, but like these feelings of like, a partner. You know what I mean? Like a partner he can trust. It is at this moment, like, yeah, it's just a really good partner story.
Yeah.
And anyway, he carries on with his wiretapping. We hear another lewd conversation between these two guys, whoever they are. Scully touches his hand and leaves and sort of looks back, looking sorry.
Sympathetically,
yeah. And then Mulder continues his surveillance, but he switches back to the blank tape.
Yeah, he does.
Starts
just listening for any clues.
For anything, yeah. So, and then, yeah, that's the end of the episode, so...
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
And again, it's hard to sort of distinguish whether I loved it because I loved getting back into it, or whether it was a really good episode. I think it was a bit of both. I thought it was just a really good episode. Again, I loved the idea of them being apart and what that does to each character. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I mean, they had a bit of everything. You had obviously a little bit more of the sort of what do you call it? It's not the Monster of the Week episodes. It's the mythology of the show. Yeah. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was, as you said, it was a really good comeback. I really like how it feels like we're going to get a lot more evidence about this mythology in this series now. Whether that's true, I don't know. But from this first episode, it feels like we are going to find out a lot more about this conspiracy.
It also throws open a lot more questions that we're going to hopefully find out, which is Skinner's involvement. Obviously, who's Matheson? What part does he have to play? And then I'm assuming we're going to find out a lot more about Samantha's abduction. I don't know, but it seems to go in that way. So yeah, stellar episode.
Before we carry on to the segment, we have to talk about the contact that we had. Well, not us. We saw in the episode. So, do you think that alien at the end, or the extraterrestrial outline we saw, do you think that was an actual alien there? And if that's the case, has one of my predictions come off?
Yeah. Didn't I predict that as well?
I do have the notes.
Do you have them with you?
Yeah.
I've got them saved somewhere.
I've only got mine. So in series 2, I said...
I've put Scully will witness. Oh no, that's a UFO. No, I didn't.
I had Mulder will see a live alien.
Oh, I think you might have got your first point. I would say yeah. I would say that's we've seen an alien.
So, is this a competition?
Yeah, it's a competition.
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Yeah.
You're winning.
Ding, one for me. 1-0.
That's annoying. Put a little ding sound effect.
Yeah,
I don't want you to say ding.
Ding, ding. Yeah. So I was quite surprised actually. I like I said, I knew we'd see something this series, or I had a feeling we'd see something this series. Did not expect to see in the first episode.
Me neither. Not in a million years.
No, but hey, it really amped up the actual mythology of it anyway. So yeah, it was as you said earlier, a great episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the end of the episode. But we just wanted to wrap up with some of the feedback we had from the last few podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, in the mini episodes, we didn't really have time for. They were meant to be sort of short, quick episodes, so we didn't really have time to go through the feedback we'd received. So we just thought we might as well go through it all now. I can start us off with a few tweets that we received. Dean got in touch after our favourite episodes.
Yeah.
Quite simply, just put no space. Yeah. Shocking.
Yeah. Which. Yeah. I mean, there's a good reason why it's not in.
I mean, space had. It could have been there as one of the most fun episodes it was to review.
Yeah.
Because it was a fun episode to review.
It is one of those where it's bad enough where it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sort of goes
back around.
Yeah.
We also had another tweet from Catherine. This was after our predictions. She put, I absolutely loved your predictions. So excited to listen along as you discover what's to come. Which we're in exactly the same boat. Yeah. It is a little bit unnerving to know that most people listening to this show know we're wrong or right.
Yeah.
So we may have made an idiot out of ourselves, and we don't know yet.
It's pretty much the story of this podcast, though, isn't it? So. Yes, and we also had an email from Kimberly. She says, "Hi Luke and Checks. I have been steadily listening to the podcast over the last month, and I've caught up with the season finale.
Oh, awesome.
I am a long-time fan of The X-Files, having watched it from the beginning. It was the first grown-up show I got into, being only 11 years old during season 1. Hearing your views as newcomers to the phenomenon takes me back to those early days of getting home from youth club and settling in for an episode after waiting for a whole week to find out what Mulder and Scully would encounter next. Being terrified by Tooms flying out of Scully's vent. That, to be fair, that as a scene is a terrifying scene. And the horror of Deep Throat being killed have always stayed with me. A mild obsession was born. I can't wait for you to see season 2. Without giving anything away, this season has one of the most iconic monsters and is where the mythology episodes really up their game."
Oh, sounds good. Oh, thank you for joining in.
There's still more.
Oh, sorry, I do apologise. Carry on.
No, I was just going to say, like, the most iconic monsters. I can't think of anything more iconic than Tooms. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
I'll be interested to see that one. She says, "I know you like to keep an eye out for Easter eggs, so here are a couple."
Oh, lovely.
The 11:21 time that shows on Scully's clock is significant. It's Chris Carter's wife's birthday.
Oh, okay.
Or date of birth, sorry. You may also notice the number 1013 show up a lot. This is Chris Carter's birthday and also Mulder's. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is keep up the good work, and I'm a little bit glad they've caught up because I don't know what I'm going to listen to during the time between episodes. The truth is out there, Kimberly.
Thank you very much for emailing in. And you know what? I love hearing the stories of people first discovering the show and how it's sort of changed them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and how it's affected their lives.
Especially when they've watched it from, like, you know, when it was originally on.
Yeah.
Like the difference between then and now.
Well, I mean, to be honest, both ways, because like it's impacted our lives because we've done this podcast. Do you know what I mean? So it's interesting to see how it's influenced a lot of different people's lives, and I quite like that idea.
That's the thing, because like as a show, like I do wonder if I wasn't covering it as a podcast, because I was going to watch it originally before we decided to do it as a podcast, would I be as invested? Not to say that I'm knocking the quality, but because I'm doing it as a podcast, I'm really digging in and looking into every detail.
I think it adds to it.
It really does.
Yeah, I really am enjoying the way we're watching it.
I don't think I could do it for every TV show I did, but I do like actually picking apart and reviewing it, because you do look for more. You look at stuff that's sometimes when you watch a film, if you're not reviewing it or something, like if you're not got that aim, I suppose, you just watch through the story and it's like, yeah, that was good. With this, like, we're watching, oh, this character's interacting with this. Is this a callback to that part in this series? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot more that you sort of dig into and analyze. So it is an interesting way to watch something. I don't know if I could recommend it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
because it's.
But
if you want to do a podcast, then fill your boots.
You know what? I'd definitely recommend anyone do a podcast, because I've really enjoyed
You'd
the podcast.
You'd be surprised who listens as well. Like I'm always surprised at our listening numbers, because it's just like, who cares about what we want to say, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but it really does. Like it's interesting.
It becomes that community, doesn't it?
That's the thing. It's like good to just listen to people's opinions on it, talk back to them, and I love having the conversation about it. So whenever people have got thoughts and feelings on an episode, or like when we do those mini episodes, get in contact with us. We always love hearing what you've got to say and like bouncing back.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So.
I mean, speaking of, we've just got a few more tweets.
Yeah.
Ray on Twitter got in touch. She basically said that she wanted to know when season 2 started, and I did let her know. But she said it's been really fun listening to us both. And she also sent in her list of favourite episodes from season 1. Yeah. And she said it was quite a difficult choice, because there's a lot of great ones, she said. But hers are, I'm assuming it's in this order. So Ice Top, Squeeze, Beyond the Sea, When Darkness Falls, and Erlenmeyer Flask. So there was a few that we had there. I noticed she's gone for Squeeze instead of Tooms, which we were struggling with. So I completely understand that decision.
Yeah, it was one or the other, and it just so happened that Tooms topped it for us. But yeah, it was it is difficult between those two, I think. So. Yeah,
definitely. So that's all for the feedback. But yeah, as Luke just said, get in touch. I'd actually quite like it if when people do get in touch, let us know how you first found X-Files.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I find that fascinating. So let us know what memories have lasted with you. How was it sort of? Where did the love for X-Files come from? Just let us know. Get in touch.
Yeah, because there's even from that, like the stories of, like, I know in America it was on Fox and stuff, and like they were watching it a few years before us in the UK, because it was on BBC in this country. Like I think we said before, it used to be on Sky, but it was actually on BBC, and it was like a year after it came out in America. It was like a year behind, so it's mental, the difference between that.
Yeah, definitely.
If you've got any stories on how you started watching it, and memories of it, like Jack says, get in contact and let us know.
Without a doubt.
I suppose that's it. We don't have a segment this week because I'm
assuming it's going to be a longer episode anyway.
It's gone quite long as we're recapping stuff and coming back.
Episode 1, it's going to be.
But we'll come back with something next week.
Well, we're back at it now every week, and the new day, which is Wednesday, so it's always going to be Wednesday now, as this one has been. But we're right back at it, and I can't wait to. Before we know it, we'll be on the season 2 post content.
I know, yeah. We're saying that now, like it's going to be miles away, but look how quick season 1 came around. You know what I mean? So, like, we'll be on that in no time. But...
Oh, definitely. We've got a few plans. I mean, just a little teaser for what's to come. We've got a few plans for Christmas episodes.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe little treats for people who are interested. There's things in the pipeline that we've got coming.
It's just going to be jingle bells all the way through the episode.
You do like putting audio clips into these podcasts.
Well, that's my thing. I suppose on that note, we'll just go over, if you want to get in contact with us and send in some of the stories that you've got, like we mentioned earlier, or your thoughts on this episode or the next few episodes, get in contact. We've got mostunwantedpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to send us an email, you can find us on Facebook at Most Unwanted Podcast. Just search for that in the search bar. We're on Twitter at Most Unwanted Pod.
Yeah, and Instagram is the same.
Instagram is the same, so you can find us on all of those. We do have a few videos up as well now, don't we, on Instagram?
Yeah, we're trying something new.
Yeah.
We're trying to do a little bit of video content as well, just to see how that goes.
It's mainly the like smaller sort of chunks of the episode.
Well, for people who aren't necessarily going to commit to like an hour and a half episode, it's just to give them a little bite-sized version of what we are and what we're about. Mm-hmm. And who knows? You never know. We might sort of. We've been talking about maybe investing in a camera and just sort of putting sort of behind the scenes footage out there for people who are interested and want to see more content. But all things that are to come, hopefully.
Yeah. So I guess we'll end the episode there. Goodbye from me and Chex, and we'll see you next time.
Except you, Chris Carter.
This could be a case for Mulder and Scully. Things are getting strange, no, I can't
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of You were waiting for the Marcus Fellow, aren't you? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and fucking I'm still in that mode. Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Most Unwanted.
We're Chelsea and Man City.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. God, we're back. We're back. I'm Luke.
And I'm Chex.
So oh no, we went back into it. I sort of panicked and was like, oh, I need to introduce ourselves.
No. I'm just thinking about Marcus Speller. That's all I'm thinking of now, unfortunately.
Hello and welcome. Fucking, I'm still trying to do Yeah, I'm still in that mood now.
Just do the podcast like that, it's fine.
Okay.
So we're like, hello and welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. The Mulder's depressed, Scully's on the warpath, and we've got Deep Throat. Let's go. Do that podcast.
Oh God.
Oh God, I want to do that podcast so much.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Luke, and with me, as always, is Daniel. Look, we've got to try and
We're not getting into the second thing. Yeah. And with me, as always,
right.
we need to get into the swing of the thing. Honestly, it's hard, and it's ad-libbing. It takes a while to get into it.
Hello and welcome to episode 28. Stop.
You're the one that did it. Hello and welcome.
Right. Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Luke, and with me, as ever, why have I gone like that? I'm Luke, and with me, as always, is Daniel Checkley. I've got to go with that.
Just checks.
Just checks.
Fine. You don't
Just
have to full
checks.
name me.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Luke, and with
It's all good fun. We're back.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Luke, and with me, it is episode 28.
You've been saying 27.
Have I?
24, 25, 26, 27. Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry. I've ruined that tape. Yeah, shit. Sorry. We're going to do this.
Once we get into it, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Luke, and with me, as ever, is Daniel. No, he's not.
You've never called me Daniel. Why
am I doing this now?
Daniel.
Daniel.
They're not even Dan, just Daniel.
Hello and welcome to episode 28 of Most Unwanted, and I just saw you go. It's just a child.
I just had this image of them two listening to it going, I'm still doing the intro.
Tash was like, we're only doing one today.
The intro 20 times.
Fucking hell.
They're really trying to perfect this one.
Fucking hell.
This is a big episode, season 2, episode 1. We've got to get this right.
Gotta get it right. Hello and well. Will he come?
Right. Let's do it this next week. We'll do it next week, don't we? We'll have to postpone it a week. We'll be good. It's the next
you know what?
podcast.
I don't think I'm going to do, unless there's anything in the rest of the episode that's hilarious, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to have just us trying to do the intro as the outtakes. Oh.
You say us. I'm washing my hands of all responsibility.
True.